We're close. I think we need 6, don't we? Yeah, we're close. Okay. Let's go ahead and call on lease and surplus property. Welcome to the committee. Yeah, I did, but nobody's listening, so.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Fernkoff. I'm the lease administrator for the Offices of Facilities and Property Management for the Department of Administration. My presentation is the proposed lease for the Kansas Department for Children and Families Office in Overland Park, Kansas. They have been at their previous location since July of 2011. In August of 2024, DCF and the Department of Administration released an RFP to search for suitable space to relocate their operations. The current facility lacks parking for visitors and employees and is not updated to current DCF security standards. The current facility is not located on a bus route and lacks adequate restroom capacity. The layout is also not meeting staff needs, as there is demand for more interview rooms, a larger lobby, and a larger conference room that can host more staff. The following terms were negotiated from the landlord's response to the RFP. The new DCF lease will be for 50,388 square feet with a starting rate of $24.99 per square foot for a term of 15 years. This includes a 5-year renewal option, which is at the discretion of the agency. The proposed lease rate is within the market range of properties within Johnson County for similar office space. The new building will include safety features to protect employees and clients, such as secure interview rooms, an electronic access management system, as well as panic buttons, a video surveillance system, and other office renovations to suit the functionality and needs of DCF. In addition, all demands of the RFP will be met to include restroom layout, conference room demand, larger lobby and interview stations, and a more convenient location for DCF clients. Over $1 million worth of high-quality office furniture will be included in the lease and will become DCF property when the state officially occupies the building. An energy audit will be completed by the lessor after a year of occupancy has been established. The Department of Administration is supportive of this lease. I'm available to answer your questions, as is a representative from the Kansas Department for Children and Families. Thank you. There's a.
Okay. So, if committee, any further questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Next up is Department of Commerce, and that should be the green packet. Yeah. Shardy Kane, welcome to the committee. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sharday Kane. Thank you. For the Department of Commerce, the fiscal year 2025 capital improvements request for the revised estimate is $200,000, all from the reimbursement and recovery fund. This is for storefront and windows. The current entry doors and window at the Topeka Workforce Center are original construction from 1982. And for fiscal year 2026, the request is for $130,000 to replace the existing roofing and facade. And I'm happy to stand for questions.
Committee, any questions concerning Kansas Department of Commerce? Not seeing any. Next up, we got Kansas Bureau of Investigation. Kyle. Okay, hold on a second. Thank you, Kyle. Go ahead.
Thank you, committee. I'm Kyle Anderson with the KLRD. The first budget I will be presenting is the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. I do not remember what colors these are at this point, but the next three should all be mine. So for 2025, the request is for $4.6 million, including $3.4 million SGF. The first project is associated with the Great Bend Laboratory HVAC replacement. This project was originally initiated for the fiscal year of 2024, but was not completed in 2024, so they have shifted it to fiscal year 2025. The request is for $1.2 million, including $390,000 from the forensics lab material fee and $850,750 from ARPA. And it is replacing the HVAC system in the lab with a new, more energy efficient system, including some more energy efficient lighting. The second project is rehabilitation and repair for $300,000 SGF. This is a yearly $300,000 request for various rehabilitation and repair projects associated with security, HVAC systems, and various systems across the headquarters. Moving into fiscal year 2026, the agency's request is for $96.4 million, all SGF. The first part of that request is for the KBI, a new KBI headquarters facility at $93 million SGF. And the agency is requesting the construction of a new headquarters facility to replace their current facility, which is insufficient for their spacing needs and has some safety-related concerns associated with the building and location. The LBC removed this particular request. The second is rehabilitation and repair for $300,000 SGF. Like in 2025, this is used for various system improvements and security-related items at the facilities across the state. Are there any questions on the KBI?
Very good. Thank you, Kyle. Any questions, committee? Not seeing any.
Moving on to KDOT. For 2025, the agency's request, including some of the road construction projects, is $1.8 billion. And this includes $1.6 billion from the State Highway Fund. The first item is rehabilitation and repair projects for $1.5 billion. For building-related instances, this is closer to $29 million. The first item on this is $5.2 million for rehabilitation and repair of various KDOT buildings across the state. $659,080 for re-roofing of a series of buildings, largely for storage of winter storm-related supplies for road handling and treatment. $4.6 million for modernization of the Yates Center and Altoona sub-area facilities. $268,993 for construction of a new salt storage facility in Pratt. $1.9 million for updates to the Dodge City main shop electrical systems and extension of the main shop bay, and $23.6 million for construction of the District 1 headquarters facility here in Topeka. Moving on to item number 2 is a request for $36.7 million associated with land and interest for projects associated with road construction in the Ike project. And items number 3 and 4 are associated with bond debt service of $106.1 million in principal and $71.3 million in interest payments on bonds currently serviced in for the Department of Transportation. For fiscal year 2026, the agency's request is for $878.3 million. This includes $692.9 million in state highway funds. Under the first item, rehabilitation and repair, this includes $661.2 million in capital improvements expenditures. And this is roughly $10 million for building-related expenses, and the remainder is associated with the Ike project road construction. This includes $5.4 billion for rehabilitation of KDOT buildings again, $446,758 to re-roof various locations across the state, including the Troy Cone, Lindsberg Rest Area, Norton Cone, Pratt Cone, Hutchinson Cone, and Ulysses Cone. $5.1 million for modernization of the Osage and Lyon sub-area facilities. $285,133 for a new salt storage facility in Osage City. $2 million for upgrades to the Horton main shop electrical and Bay Extension. $2.8 million for construction of a Topeka surplus property warehouse with 14,900 square feet on the corner of the District 1 complex, and $1.7 million for construction of the Great Bend Construction Office. Item number 2 is again land and interest. This is $31.7 million SHF for purchase of land and interest projects for Ike. And 3 and 4 are again debt service related payments. 109.4 for debt service principal and 75.9 for debt service interest on bonds. Any questions?
Thank you, Kyle. Committee, any questions? Go ahead, Representative Francisco.
Thank you. I'd love to represent the people. I'm just asking, when we look at the chart about the capital improvements, it doesn't show any funding either for fiscal year 2025 or fiscal year 2026. And I'm assuming that even though the request is for state highway funds and bond debt service fund, that those would appear as part of the budget?
With respect to which columns?
Columns, the third and fifth column on what's numbered page 13.
Where it says LBC fiscal year 25 and LBC fiscal year 26. They're all blank.
Oh, I apologize. I probably pulled the pages from the wrong version of the file. The LBC did not make any changes to the capital improvements request for...
We don't have that information at this point in time. So it just shows no funding.
I apologize for that mistake. I can get you an updated version of the file.
Could you please?
But all the requests are included in those, in the, it would be HB 2007?
That's correct.
That's good to know. That was that's what a lot of commotion up here is going through because it showed nothing. So any further questions on that? Thank you, Senator. So,
moving on. Oh, sorry. Moving on to Highway Patrol. This may have also been pulled from the wrong version of the file. I can get you the updated version of this one as well. For reference sake, in the table, the only items that were not approved by the LBC are the Troop J Training Academy major projects in fiscal year 2025. That's a $1,058,000 request. And in fiscal year 2026, the KHP headquarters and Wichita hangar projects.
okay, but everything else was approved.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So moving into fiscal year 2025, the agency's request is
Hang tight a
for...
second, Kyle.
Oh, sorry.
And this is just again on the chart. You're telling us that the funding for Troop J of the $58,000 was not included. Was the $413,000 included? That's
Yes.
Why
only
26?
The fiscal year 2025 item was removed.
that 2026 remains.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So the first item of the $4.5 million is the Troop I scale house and scale repair replacement. And this was previously approved at $1.2 million. The revised request is for $1.8 million, or a $600,000 increase. And this is for assessment of the Troop I scale house, replacement of scales at various scale houses across the state, maintenance of fixed and mobile scales across the state, and replacement of the North Olathe scale house. Item number 2 is a new construction project completion. This is a $1.3 million revised request for the Hayes hangar. And this was previously intended to be completed in fiscal year 2024, but the project is carried over slightly into 2025. Item number 3 is the Troop J Training Academy major projects. This is an all-new project request. This was for $1.1 million and associated with repairs to the stairwell between power plant and J building, the stairwell to the gymnasium, and the concrete cap over the lower power plant at the Salina Training Academy facility. Due to wear and tear over the years on those facilities. Item number 4 is the troop facility major projects, and this project was originally approved at $948,750. The revision is an increase of $235,653 for repairs to parking lots and an elevator. The item number 5 is Troop J Training Academy Maintenance and Repair. This is an all-new project request for $108,654, and the planned maintenance projects associated with this financing are installation of a welding exhaust hood and curtains within the lower power plant, installation of flooring in the kitchen and replacement of the heated glass panel, and replacement of flooring, compressor coils, and a refurbishment of the walk-in freezer in the cafeteria to meet OSHA standards. Item number 6 is the troop facility routine maintenance and repair. This was originally approved at $34,960. The revised request is for $41,999. And this is associated with repairs and maintenance to the central dispatch facility, including installation of LED fixtures and controls for reduced light bulb replacement frequency and energy consumption. And item number 7 is the fleet program repair, which was originally approved at $9,610. The revised request remains the same. And this is for various repairs to the highway patrol fleet vehicles. Moving on to fiscal year 2026, the agency's request is for $58.4 million. The first request was the Highway Patrol new headquarters facility. Again, this was not approved by the LBC committee over the interim. And the request was for $48.3 million for the construction of a new headquarters facility to combine all of their headquarters operations in one building instead of split across 2 buildings. Item number 2 is for the construction of a hangar at the James Jabara Airport in Wichita. The hangar for the air support unit is currently at the Cook Airfield near Derby, and this airfield facility is currently for sale and does not provide all of the security needs and fuel types for the air support unit to function properly. Item number 3 is the Troop I scale house and scale repair and replacement. This was previously approved at $1.2 million. And for the fiscal year 2026, the intended projects are, again, replacement of various scales at scale houses and maintenance of fixed and mobile scales, and an overhaul of the South Olathe scale house. Item number 4 is the Troop J Training Academy major projects. This is a request for $413,781 for maintenance at the Salina Training Facility. And the request intends to replace the gymnasium lighting with LED fixtures, dorm lighting with LED fixtures, and replacement of security and control access systems. The fifth item is the major projects at the troop facility. This is a $1.1 million request for repairs to the Troop C headquarters and vehicle fleet storage. The 2024 legislature had approved $948,750. The intended projects are replacement of the vehicle fleet storage air conditioning unit, replacement of windows and security access to the Troop C headquarters building, and replacement of lighting fixtures with LED fixtures at the Troop C headquarters. Item number 6 is the Troop J Training Academy and Maintenance and Repair. This is a request for $47,610 associated with updates to the Salina Training Academy that regularly has a number of issues due to the age of the facilities. And the final item, number 7, is the fleet program repair for $9,850. And the 2024 legislature approved $9,610 of this, and these expenses go to various repairs to the fleet vehicles of the Highway Patrol. Any questions?
Committee, any questions? Not seeing any. Thank you, Kyle. Go ahead.
I think she raised her hand.
I was trying to make sure that just as all the expenditures, except for Troop J, were not noted, the financing is also available for those 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. So what we're going to do now, this is where we were planning to stop last time around, I believe on January 27th. So I want to go, first off, before we go further, there was a question from Senator Billinger. He was questioning if ARPA funds were used on the Department of Administration. Is there any follow-up on that or anything? Nothing. Okay, so I'm trying to see if there's any other questions that popped up here. One moment. Go ahead, sir.
Frank Burnham, I'm the Deputy Secretary of Operations for the Department of Administration. I can confirm that Secretary Profit did meet personally with Senator Billinger this morning and has resolved his questions and answers and has communicated that back through Mr. Wu and Shirley Morrow.
That's what I needed to hear. All right, thank you. Well, then let's go ahead and get some motions going on out here for what we had previously heard, and then at that point we'll go on with the next few that we have not heard yet. So first up, I'm showing Department of Administration, and I make a motion to recommend House Bill 2007 funding for years 25 and 26. Do I have a second? Seconded by Rick Billinger. Rick Clues, too many things happening here. Sorry about that. Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Okay, got that one done. For Department of Corrections, I recommend a motion to recommend House Bill 2007 funding for 2025. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Clues this time. Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Department of Corrections, for 2026, recommend that we follow House Bill 2007 with further recommendation to work with the legislature for Hutch Correctional Facility replacement options. That is to, however you want to, if you need a minute or two to write that down. we're just looking at options. What I was thinking on that is how we did it with Lansing, but the motion should say to work with legislature for HCF replacement options. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Clues. Committee, any questions or comments? Representative Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So one concern that I have is I understand that HB 2007 didn't include any requests for enhancements. And I'm thinking that in addition to the replacement of the Hutchinson Correctional Facility, it would be helpful to look at some of the other projects, especially select, is this Lansing Community?
That's Lansing.
You know, when they're talking about raising projects, because we have, you know, asked our Regents facilities to particularly look for the raising of buildings that would save us funding over time. So I would prefer to ask the legislature to review, especially because it's corrections, to review all of these requests.
Would you like to make a sub-motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer a substitute motion to approve, and we're talking about 26.
26 only.
The agency, or the recommendations for the Kansas Department of Corrections to approve the recommendations consistent with House Bill 2007, but ask the legislature to look at the additional 6 requests from the agency as they review the budget.
Got your notes okay? All right. Do I have a second? Senator Clays has a second. Committee, any questions, comments? All right, not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Substitute motion is carried. On with the next one then. Thank you. Let's see. Judicial branch. Let's see, recommend House Bill 2000, motion to recommend House Bill 2007 funding for 25 and 26. Do I have a second? Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would second that with the notation that the $300,000 for the garden level project was included in the I think was included in HB 2007 recommendations and just not, and just omitted from our information.
One moment, please.
Legislative Research, Stephen Wu. What I'm handing out is an updated version of that page that reflects the Legislative Budget Committee's recommendation. Yes.
For anybody listening out there, where the staff is handing out an updated version with the numbers included.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would second that motion based on the new budget summary distributed for the judicial branch.
Okay, so you are seconding it as I made it based on the new numbers. All right. Committee, questions, discussion? Everybody in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, that was judicial. Department of Commerce, make a motion to recommend House Bill 2007 funding for years 2025 and 2026. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Clues. Any discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Kansas Bureau of Investigations. I make a motion to recommend House Bill 2007 funding for year 2025 only. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Clues. Okay, discussion? Committee, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Kansas Bureau of Investigation make a motion to recommend the House Bill 2007 funding for 2026 with added language that the KBI continue to work with Legislature concerning a lease-to-own option for a new headquarters facility and any options thereof. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Francisco. Any discussion, committee? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Kansas Department of Transportation. I had notes here because nothing was showing, but it apparently is showing now. So with that, I would recommend a motion to recommend House Bill 2007 for years 2025 and 2026. Do I have a second? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I second. And are there updated files for that? If we just want to hand that out, even after the meeting, so we have those for our records. So, Mr. Chair, I would second your motion based on the new information distributed at the meeting.
Thank you. Committee, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That was Department of Transportation. Kansas Highway Patrol. Make a motion to recommend House Bill 2007 funding for 2025 only. Do I have a second? Go ahead, Senator.
I understand the motion has been made. I'm wondering if there's also updates for this, because I think it would be helpful, especially to see the numbers relating to Troop J, and since the paper's already been used.
I'm going to give everybody just a moment here to look it over.
So, Mr. Chair, perhaps I should have, well, I'm waiting for FY 2026.
We have not heard 26 yet, so this is just on 2025. After seeing updated numbers, is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye for 2025. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Kansas Highway Patrol. I would like to make a motion to recommend House Bill 2007 funding for 2026. It is further recommended a presentation be given concerning the findings of the KHP Salina Campus Needs Assessment, which is pursuant to the 2024 bill, House Bill 2551, and that KHP continue to work with the legislature to further satisfy Salina campus needs. Do I have a second? Seconded by Richard Clues. Discussion, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would also at some point like to have some information about the request for the major projects at Troop J. The funding is now available for 2026, but the $1 million was not spent in 2025. So just to provide, I think this committee information on how those dollars would be used, because the understanding was that they would have already had the $1 million, and then we're asking for the 413,000. But we might have someone here who could speak to that.
State your name and who you're with.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Merle Riedel, Executive Officer for Kansas Highway Patrol. I just wanted to double check, are you referencing on this document, are you referencing column LBC FY 2025, the 0 next to the training academy? Is that what you're inquiring about?
The training academy at Troop J.
Yeah, so training academy at Troop J, and I'm not sure, I just want to make sure I'm tracking. We did request $1,058,000 for an enhancement request. The LBC deleted that. So it's not that we did not expend those funds. It's we requested that, and that has not been provided yet.
And so my question was, those were not expended or given, but then there is 413,000 this year in the budget. Is that, am I reading this?
26.
Right. But so we.
Yeah, Troop, sorry.
So we had money that was not authorized for 2025 and additional money for 2026. So I'm just wanting to understand how the additional money would be spent if you weren't given the money for 2025.
Correct. So there is annual maintenance cost associated with that campus of a variety of needs, whether it's plumbing or HVAC systems. They've previously in the past have come out to about $500,000 a year for maintenance of that whole campus. In FY 2025, we were requesting additional funds for what I would call extraordinary needs. So these were unique aspects related to that concrete cap. So at this point, then, we will have 0 funding for the maintenance on that campus, and we will have 413 to kind of resume the annual ongoing cost, variety of different projects on that campus. So does that answer your question, ma'am?
Thank you, it does. So my concern would be then we have a budget that has not recognized any funding for maintenance on that campus in fiscal year 2025. Not just major projects. Mr. Chair, I would appreciate the legislature looking at the rehabilitation and repair or the projects on Troop J and make sure, because I'm wondering if 413,000 this year is enough if we didn't spend anything last year.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a Deputy Secretary for Business Operations here that might be able to field some more specific questions for the committee.
Mr. Clays, did you have something to inject at this point?
I think maybe if we can come back to this after we have the discussion with Clark and Enerson to see what the overall need is and the assessment of that and what pieces can be moved off of that campus, what facilities that opens up that might not be in need of so much repair. Some of the shifting of assets around there might make a whole lot more sense and do the taxpayers a great service to not potentially make all of the investments that we're looking at here and instead put those into some new facilities that might be more long-term sustainable for us. This isn't the first time that we've seen these numbers come flying across for that campus. It's an extremely expensive maintenance nightmare and will continue to be so as long as we keep it limping along. So I would just suggest that we schedule Clark and Enerson soon, have that discussion and maybe just revisit these items or put into our recommendation that these be revisited after we've had that discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I appreciate that suggestion and believe it's very appropriate.
Did we have somebody else who wanted to?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Sherry Mackey. I'm the Deputy Secretary of Business Operations for the Highway Patrol. Just wanted to clarify a little bit. We did have some expenditures that came over from 24 into 25, part of that 400,000. We have elevator renovations that are being done, and that was delayed at some point. So we do have some renovations that are taking place, and I think you're seeing some of that in the budget. So, and then to Senator Clays's point, we've been shifting those maintenance back and forth until we know what we're going to do with those assets at this point. So I appreciate the opportunity to clarify that.
I believe we are still on a motion, right? So do you wish to substitute it or just move it forward as is with a follow-up? I'll let you say how we want to add it in.
So to that motion, with the suggestion that the legislature look at the funding for Troop J Training Academy repairs and renovation as part of their overall plan. Senator Clays would like reconfiguration.
So do we have I guess, a new second on the motion as included? Let the records show that Senator Clay seconded it out. So, all right. Is there further discussion? All right. Committee, if all in favor for the 2026, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries then. And thank you for the discussion, truly. Okay, now I think, if I can ask the staff, that should cover everything we had previously heard. If that's a correct statement, we'll go on with the next ones then. Okay. Next up would be State Fair. And thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Luke Drury, Senior Fiscal Analyst with Legislative Research. Do you all have me in the room? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hang tight just a second. It's in the, where's it at? It's in here. Okay. Okay. So, okay. I guess we're going to hang tight a little bit to go get a packet on that. Okay, so anybody listening out there, we're looking at State Fair, but we do not have the packet at this time in the committee, so we're running after to go get it right now. So, do we have a packet on Department of Wildlife and Parks? It's in the same one, so we'll just hang tight on it too then. Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair, does the staff have any other updates that it would make sense to distribute that we didn't ask questions about? Those are the ones that we got.
All right, let's get it going again here. We are on Kansas State Fair, which is the blue copies that was just handed out. And State Fair is Luke. Luke, there you are. No? Oh, Luke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There you are. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry about that. We just had to go get some copies here for everybody, so.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Luke Drury. I'm a senior fiscal analyst with Legislative Research Department. As indicated, you all do have the capital budget and debt for the Kansas State Fair for FY 2025 and FY 2026. Item number 1 for FY 2025 is the Bison Arena renovation. The Bison Arena renovation was originally constructed in 1937. After the 2019 State Fair, the building was deemed unsafe. The 22 legislature had approved $10 million general fund to update the Bison Arena in 25. And the project is still ongoing, and the remaining balance in the Bison Arena account for the Kansas State Fair is estimated to be fully expended in FY 2025. And I would note for the committee, if you look at figure 8 up above Bison Arena renovation, you can see that in 2024 they had about $5 million in expenditures. The remaining balance of about $3.6 million is still in that account and is estimated to be spent in the current fiscal year. Item number 2 is also a reappropriation for some state fair facility upgrades. The 22 legislature, in addition to the Bison Arena appropriation, did approve $2.5 million general fund for some various different projects all across the Kansas State Fair. They spent most of that money in 24, $855 rolled into the new year. They do expect to spend that during this fiscal year. Item number 3, ongoing maintenance. These are all those general maintenance things that could come up on a day-to-day at the Kansas State Fair for those members who have been. There are over 70 buildings, and the campus of the State Fair takes up about 280 acres. In addition to the State Fair, they will have a number of events on the grounds throughout the year, weddings, quinceañeras, things like that members of the public can rent. So just general upkeep, keeping the building and grounds in good working order. That is estimated at $640,000 in 2025. Or excuse me, that's an addition of $645,000 in 2025, all from special revenue funds. Item number 4 is an emergency command center. This was part of the state efficiency and modernization program that was approved by the State Finance Council in December 21 of 2022. They were approved $250,000 for that. And for 2024, those monies were not spent. The agency is estimating to spend the rest of that in 2025. I would also note for the committee, Mr. Chair, that the House Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources budget added an additional $750,000 for a general fund for the Emergency Command Center. However, that recommendation is for fiscal year 2026. So that would bring the total expenditures for an emergency command center to $1 million over 25 and 26. My understanding is that the State Fair will be working with Highway Patrol, the county and the city in Hutchinson to coordinate and partner to create an emergency command center that will not necessarily be located on the grounds of the State Fair, but nearby. Item number 5, debt service for the Expo Center rehabilitation. These bonds were issued in 2021 for $1.2 million. The rehab of the Expo Center has since been completed, just simply paying off those bonds. The final payment on those bonds is scheduled for payment in fiscal year 2028. Mr. Chair, I can stand for questions or I can describe 2026 capital improvements.
Okay, any questions at this point? Senator Clues?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarity, being new to this committee, Ways and Means, we got all these different funds. What is the State Fair Capital Improvement Fund? What's that connected to? How's it funded? Balance?
Yeah, I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator, to answer your question, the State Fair Capital Improvement Fund is a special revenue fund that is utilized by the state fair. That is part of the revenues that they take in every year through gate admissions, whatnot. They can do transfers between their fee fund account and their capital improvement fund account.
Representative Osley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you. You mentioned the Ag and Natural Resources Committee added 750,000 to 2026 for the Emergency Command Center. Do we have information that they based that decision upon?
Mr. Chair, Representative, Brian Schultz, I believe, is with the committee. I can see you all, but I can't see the gallery. With that being said, he did give a presentation to the Legislative Budget Committee over the interim, and then also to the, this item came up during the interim for the Legislative Budget Committee. In addition to that, he did give a presentation to Agriculture and Natural Resources Budget Committee. I believe that original ask that he had in his enhancement request was for $2 million. And the Ag and Natural Resources Budget Committee is recommending $750,000 general fund in 2026.
Yeah, if you'd like to fill us in. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, what was your question? I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, thank you for answering the question. Just what the 750,000 additional dollars, what that figure was based on, the information.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the Kansas State Fair is very interested in public safety when you come onto the Kansas State Fairgrounds. Currently, we have no location on our grounds where all of the emergency services can get together. That would be Highway Patrol, Police, Sheriff, Fire, EMS. If we would have a mass casualty, we have no place where we can put them together. So that is where this building project came together. The bid for the building is about $2.5 million. We had asked for $2 million of the committee, and they decided to go down to $750,000 with the caveat that we go out and work with our city, the county, and the Highway Patrol to fund the rest of that monies.
I appreciate that information, and I remember when we were visiting the state fairgrounds, you were talking about the blockades and just the kind of mediation for risk for an attack of sorts. So I guess for committee's consideration, do we want to mimic the Ag and Natural Resources recommendation, or do we want to let this go when we consider it for recommendations?
I'd say please bring that up. We're not going to recommend it today because we don't have the quorum, but I would like to have that brought up and included.
I'll put a pin in it. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any further questions? While you're here, just state who you are for.
Sure. Brian Schultz, General Manager, Kansas State Fair.
All right. Thank you, Brian. All right. Okay. Luke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. You were going to go over some other capital improvement projects?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. Yes, just for 2026, as noted before, the House Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources budget's not listed here on this budget summary in front of you. I did recommend the $750,000 general fund for that emergency command center. In addition to that, item number 1, ongoing maintenance, same as up above, those buildings and grounds. We'll have routine maintenance on them throughout the year. The Kansas State Fair's estimate for that adds about $645,000 all from special revenue funds for ongoing maintenance. And then item number 2, the remainder of that, or excuse me, is for debt service expenditures again for the Expo Center rehab and repair. Those will be paid off in fiscal year 2028. Mr. Chair, I can stand for any more questions that the committee may have.
Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if the legislature is to recommend the $750,000, what financing would that be? Would that be general funds, or would that be the fee funds or capital improvement funds?
Mr. Chair, Senator, to answer your question, that recommendation from the House Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources budget was $750,000 from the state general fund.
Further questions? All right, that brings us down to Department of Wildlife and Parks. And I believe that's Luke. You got it again.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That would be for item number, or excuse me, the green sheet. Also, too, I did want to note as well, and I apologize, Kansas State Fair, Senator Cluse had asked about the revenues to the capital improvement fund. That is transfers from their operating account, but also to the state general fund does have some statutory transfers into there of about $300,000 each fiscal year. I did want to mention that before moving forward. The committee will have the KDWP capital improvement budgets here in front of you. The figure 8 shows all of those lines of different types of capital projects that Wildlife and Parks goes through. Mr. Chair, I can go through each one of those for you. Each one of these individual lines, if you would like, and discuss them, or I can talk about some of those changes that the Legislative Budget Committee recommended that are that are different than the agency's request.
I would prefer just to hear the changes because the information in front of us is pretty clear on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, and the committee can read those narrative explanations. They'll tell you what each one of those kind of buckets describe some of those expenditures, those buckets for the accounts. With that being said, Mr. Chair, I would note on page number 12, item number 4, dam maintenance in fiscal year 2025. The Wildlife and Parks did reappropriate roughly $1.9 million from the general fund for one-time dam repairs from 24 into 25. The Legislative Budget Committee did recommend the deletion of that reappropriation. I would also then note that that is the only change from the agency's request. I would also note, though, for the committee, item number, let me find it, item number 10, Parks Major Maintenance. That is on page 13. The LBC recommended no changes to that. However, with that being said, the number in 2025 does include, and you'll notice in the table, it's a bit higher than other years. That is because there's a $10 million ARPA grant that was awarded to Wildlife and Parks through the Department of Commerce and their Sprint grants. And that would include, that would fund the completion or rehabilitation of various visitor centers located throughout the state at some of those state parks. And those are listed there in the narrative for the committee along with the estimate expenditures for that. Mr. Chair, outside of that, there were no changes recommended by the Legislative Budget Committee for Wildlife and Parks' capital improvement plans. I can stand for questions, or I did notice and see in committee with us today is Acting Secretary Kennedy and some members from KDWP. They may be able to answer any questions that you all may have as well.
All right. Just curiosity question, is there deadlines on the ARPA funds to be utilized?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there are. I do believe that for those monies need to be out the door in this calendar year. With that being said, there are also some stipulations based upon whether or not a entity is the final recipient or not. So that is to say that I believe that all of the initial awards, so Commerce, for example, would need to be out the door this calendar year, but there may be a little bit of flexibility since KDWP is a subrecipient in this regard from Department of Commerce. There may be some room in there, but I do know that the end of this calendar year is when most of those awards are to be spent.
Okay, thank you. I know we're getting close to, we need to cut it off, but if we've got the Acting Secretary here, if you want to say a few things before we shut down here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. I think there's a mistake on when those ARPA funds have to be utilized. My team and I believe that we have until July of next year to spend those funds. And the other thing I'd just like to bring up, I'd like to ask you all to reconsider eliminating the 1.9 million in state general funds that we planning to use for dam maintenance. That original amount was roughly about 2.7 million. Since that time, since we were awarded that, we spent right at 800,000. It's taken us a little bit of time to be prepared for the dam maintenance, as we had to hire divers to go down and inspect the dams, and we've spent already 800,000 in preparation to send that out for bid. So I'd like the committee to reconsider eliminating that 1.9 million.
Committee, any questions, Representative Osley?
Just to support that consideration that the LBC did direct these subcommittees to go back and reconsider those. And I appreciate any supporting, information you can give us. $800,000 spent to make sure we're spending the rest of the 2.7 appropriately and securing our dams sounds good to me.
Thank you, Representative.
Senator Clues, did you?
And my apologies, Mr. Chairman. I mean, it may be in here. How many different dams are there for those funds?
4 different dams that funding is slotted for. We have a considerable amount of dams that we need to repair, even outside of what's already been appropriated. We've got about 9.6 million in dam repairs that we're trying to address.
Marcy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to comment that I know, having sat in on Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, that dams and repair is a problem throughout the state, and that we don't want to expose the state to any lawsuits or expenditures because of failure for a dam. This could have very serious implications, and I'm just saying, our other committees are, I think, looking very hard at trying to make sure that we're repairing and getting repairs made to private dams. So I think the first thing we should do is make sure we have repaired our public dams.
Thank you, Senator Francisco.
Further questions? Not seeing any. Thank you for being here. Staff, thank you for everything. And we're going to go ahead and adjourn. It's 1:07, I want to say.